WMAL Fisher House Radiothon continues. Please support our wounded warriors and their families by calling in your contribution now. 888-294-8560. That's 888-294-8560.
8:37, it's O'Connor and Company here on our 2024 WMAL Fisher House Radiothon. 888-294-8560. It's Larry O'Connor with the debut of co-host this morning, Emily Domenech, member of the Navy Reserves, formerly of Capitol Hill, and an all-around great gal. Thanks for joining us, Emily.
Thanks for having me. This is so fun.
Well, you brought so much to the table here for Fisher House Foundation, and
it's
that
really exciting.
Means a lot. And joining us right now, I know, is a great fan of the foundation and, by the way, the United States Navy. She, of course, is former Deputy National Security Advisor KT McFarland. KT, good morning. Thanks for being part of our Fisher House Radiothon.
Well, it's an honor, and I really believe in what you're doing in the Fisher House. I know many members of the Fisher family from New York, and God bless them all. They're for their patriotism and service to the country.
So, KT, can you give us? We had Gordon Chang on yesterday, and he gave us some insight. I know that you and Gordon are great friends and work together. Can you shed some more light on the status of South Korea and what exactly happened there? And with the declaration of martial law, is there a coup? Who are the good guys and the bad guys? It's sort of confusing.
Well, I would never try to preempt Gordon Chang. He's the guy who knows everything. He wrote books about North Korea and South Korea. I just want to say that when I was at the RAND Corporation, 45 years ago, and I wrote a paper on North and South Korea and what would ever happen to them. And there was a point at which I concluded that there's something about the Koreans and their sort of approach to politics and government that it's like, they may see the future ahead of them and it might be a good and rosy one, but there's a part of them that just wants a street brawl. And no matter what's going to happen, they're going to have a street brawl. And I think that's what South Korea is having. They got an unpopular president who's figuring that anybody who's against him must be a North Korean agent of some sort. And so he's going to shut everything down. Martial law, no press. The problem was he never consulted with anybody. He didn't talk to his parliament. He didn't talk to his own cabinet. And he did it, and it failed, and it had to be reversed, and now he's facing probably political extinction in the sense he'll be rightfully impeached. But who knows what happens next? It could be another street brawl.
What do you think the attitude should be of the incoming Trump administration towards sort of the political unrest we've seen around the world, and how can they come in and help to sort of squash some of this activity going on outside our borders?
That's a great question, and I think that the Trump effect will be significant. It'll be sudden. And once the United States, and it'll happen very quickly, we'll turn our economy around, we'll end the Ukraine war, the world will look at that and say, whoa, America's back, not in the Joe Biden sense of Joe Biden's back, but America's back. Our economic, military, technological, trade, diplomatic preeminence will be back, and that brings a lot of people in line. The other thing I think that's important about what the incoming Trump administration will do is I look at my friend Pete Hegseth and how he's being just cannibalized. I knew him when he came back from war, and he's a really good guy. And the symbol that he is to our veterans, and especially since you're talking about veterans today in the show, is the symbol of hope. The woke generals, the think tankers, the POLs, sent our vets on multiple deployments to forever wars we couldn't win. They were denied decent health care and pay, and many veterans struggled. There were high suicide rates, historically high suicide rates, depression, ruined family lives. And Pete Hegseth is the embodiment of the guy who went through all that, and he made it. He survived. He remade his life. So the fact that he is now going to be elevated to the cabinet and to the highest civilian as running the Defense Department, it'll show them that there's hope for all of them. I think it's something we owe our veterans to show that, we haven't forgotten about you. In fact, we want you to succeed, and here's a symbol of how it happens. So I think that will be a very powerful message that President Trump sends to the military, and that the military indeed holds its head up high again, as they did in the Reagan administration, but where Reagan reversed that hatred and just sort of bad treating of the American military after a forever war. Trump can do the same, and Pete Hegseth is the embodiment of that.
I'd love to follow up on one thing you said there about how we need to deal with our general class that's out of control. What do you think of the idea from the incoming administration about having a review board that considers whether or not we have too many general officers or some need to be, retired because they aren't, frankly, leading in a way that's effective?
Well, we have way too many senior flag officers. Way too many stars on shoulders that don't belong there. And I think, what is the number now? We now have more generals in Europe, deployed in Europe, than we have staff sergeants. It's just some crazy number. It's all top-sided. And so, yeah, you need to really reduce that greatly. And then retire a lot of them. What have they done? President Trump famously said, in 2016, I want some generals who win wars. These guys don't win wars. We don't win wars anymore. And I think there's a really good point to that. Why are we fighting wars we can't win? And is our military, and are these the guys, and particularly those who are captured by the defense industrial complex? Many of them will just take off their uniforms and then jump right into their fancy suits and make their $1 million salaries working for defense contractors. The thing I'd like to see immediately is that none of them can go right into the defense industrial complex. If you've served your country, if you've had the privilege of serving your country in a senior rank, you do not belong in a defense industrial complex job making $1 million a year off of your old colleagues.
KT, real fast, because you mentioned the Pete Hegseth nomination, that he's had a pretty positive day, I think, yesterday in terms of pushing back against a lot of this narrative. If there are senators right now, Republican senators, who are on the fence or withholding their support based on anonymous reports through NBC News and ABC News and other media outlets where people won't even put their name to these allegations, what's your impression of that? And that it seems to me, listen, if there are things about Pete Hegseth that should prevent him from being Secretary of Defense, okay, let's hear about it. But that's why we have hearings, not anonymously sourced reports in the media, right?
I think there's a special place in hell for those anonymous reports and for the people who are doing smear campaigns against American heroes and the reporters who somehow peddle that stuff. Who are these people? They're anonymous sources. First of all, I'd like to know, how did somebody get hold of a private email between a mother and her son?
Yeah.
Somebody leak that? Somebody hack that? Where does that come from?
Yeah.
And then secondly, I've got 3 sons. There's plenty of times when I've told them, get your act together. And I think every mother in America has said to her sons, get your act together at some point in their life. And
I think you've said that to me a
prevent
few
it.
times, KT, actually, now that I think about it. All right, we got to leave it there. KT, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for being part of Fisher House Foundation today as well.
Thank you.